Hello and welcome to the attendees of our webinar on ARC's Multitouch survey. My name is Anne, I'm the moderator for today's session, and this webinar is brought to you by ARC related to the online survey that we started to conduct in early 2015, which goal was really to gain an insight about the current status of multitouch technology in the industry, and this really is what we want to present to you today. Just shortly before we are going to start, I would kindly like to invite you to ask your questions in our Q&A session at the end of the webinar. We really would like to hear from you and would like to include your voice in the conversation. So ask questions, share comments with us, and yes, please even challenge our ideas by using the question and answer panel on the right side of your screen. The questions will be sent to my attention. I will collect them and direct them to our experts. So without any further delay, I would like to pass over the word to our expert, Florian Gutner. Florian, can you hear us?
Yes, very well. Thank you, Anne. So also, hello from my side. Welcome to this webinar. We have a second session this afternoon with identical content. As Anne already pointed out, the reason and also the source of information for this webinar is the Multitouch survey that we conducted in early 2015. I will be presenting the results. With me also from an analyst side is Fabian Wanke from our Dresden office. He will take over and will be with me responsible for the areas of IPCs and also multi-touch panels in future. So this is also, he supported me with the analysis of the complete data. So first things first, thank you very much. From our point of view, this survey was a success. This means purely from an analytical point of view, we had good feedback, we had valid feedback, and so the information and the results are valid and reliable, which is the key of the market research. Now, our program for this morning. I'm quickly gonna say a few words about the sample, so who participated. We're gonna talk about the adoption and the market development of multitouch. We're gonna talk about the offering by suppliers. Don't worry, we won't do any supplier by supplier comparison. We do then look into multitouch in practice, and at the end, as Anne already mentioned, the Q&A session. Now, who participated? Overall, we had around 60 participants in the survey. I can tell you it doesn't seem a lot, but many of the participants I know personally. We can really say that the respondents are all experts in the field of multitouch and operator panels. And also all the major suppliers, so from the company side, all the major suppliers participated, mostly on a product manager level and above, but also some on a more technical level. Most of the companies are, as you can see here in the sample, are from the really big ones. So yeah, we have the big suppliers here, which are multinational companies. A slight downside on the survey was we sent it out via our ArcWire, via general mailings, and we had really good feedback from the supplier community. End users and machine builders did not really participated in the survey. So having said that, everything that we say now from here on will focus on the respondents from the supplier community, as the end users as well as machine builders will not really reliable and valid sample when you need at least 30 respondents to get good feedback here. But again, overall, looking at the good participation from the supplier community, we can really say these results are reliable. Now, adoption and market development. Where are we right now? This is the question. Do you consider multi-touch technology in manufacturing to be? And everything from still in R&D to mature. This is basically a standard curve. It's not flat and smooth or anything. Most suppliers consider this to be still in early adoption, so some products are available, but it doesn't have the full traction of an established technology. That was really something that we expected to be somewhere between early adoption and gaining acceptance. But what really surprised us was the difference between around 20 or more than 20% saying it's established and growing, and around 17% saying it's beta test or earlier. Now, there are a few reasons for that, and I just quickly want to share our thoughts on that. Is first, suppliers are on a very different level. There are suppliers that already have very well and high advanced multi-touch panels, including the software and service for this, and very well thought of design and everything. And there are some suppliers that started later and that just start to develop these multi-touch technology, even though there are 1 or 2 products out in the market. This is one thing. The other reason is that the technology itself is mature. Everyone operates multi-touch on a daily basis via the smartphone, tablet, or whatever. But in manufacturing, that's different. So the adoption and application in manufacturing may be emerging while the technology itself is mature, which is why we think there is this great divergence between one side still in beta testing and the other side already established. Now, we want to talk about multi-touch development, and just to put that in the right proportion, into the right perspective, I would simply share very briefly something that has not to do with multi-touch at all. This is our global automation index. What you see here is basically we sum up the revenues of major automation companies. This dip here was basically caused by developments in Japan and also the yen development. And this here is also basically caused by the drop in the euro. So you have exchange rates effects here as well. But even if you would rule out all these exchange rates effects, you would have a stable or slightly increasing market. So overall automation growth, let's say excluding any currency effects, overall automation markets in hardware can be considered to grow anything between, let's say, 2 to maybe 4%. So it's really not big growth. Now, we asked you on multi-touch. And the result is that you actually, or having said that, it's probably excluding any sort of euro and yen devaluation, so that's real growth and not nominal growth in dollars, but it's a very strong growth. And also, more than 50% really expect 10% or higher growth in the market, which is a tremendous growth market. So overall, the multi-touch panels will grow very fast. We expect the same growth on the overall panel market. Having said that, it's quite clear that multi-touch will grow or outgrow a lot of the other technologies. So the resistive touch will get less, the panels with function keys will get less in the total market, and multi-touch panels will step by step outgrow these technologies, these older technologies. Good. So the offering by supplier. So what's available on the market? This ranges from everything from software to hardware to different technologies and the like. So the first question, and some may have read our insight on multi-touch technology that we also published early 2015. What technology is suitable for multi-touch in automation? Not surprising at all, projective capacitive is the most popular technology. It's followed by resistive touch. For those of you who are not that familiar with the technology, projective capacitive, that's the smartphone, and resistive touch, this is what we all know from slightly older airplanes. So the entertainment system that was basically resistive touch. There is a price difference between these two. Projective is more expensive. And the dual, it's also, we have to say that resistive touch is, to be honest, not 100% multi-touch because it can only enable dual touch. There are some companies out there that also have other technology, LED matrix, diffused illumination, and infrared light paint. But we strongly believe projective, capacitive, this will be the most important technology now and in future. So, adoption, what are the challenges? And a lot of time we do interviews and we talk about challenges, then it's all about the technology. Now, when we look at the technological challenges, and these are the ones with the circle here, they are not the top. They are not even the majority at the top. They are distributed across the complete scale. The biggest technological hurdle are the rough environment. So this is part because sometimes you have to use the gloves to operate the panels, and with projective that's not possible because of non-conductive material. There are technical solutions in development for that, so we can expect that to be solved rather quickly. And also to some extent, because projective use the glass front, this can burst, and especially in food and beverage environments, this can be a big problem. Security and safety, yes, that's a technological hurdle, but to be honest, that's not multi-touch specific. It's something that also is related to many other technology. We have the problem of phantom touches, so what can happen if you accidentally hit the start button on a machine? You better not do that. But also here we have, this problem can be solved by design and of the screen and everything. And we obviously have the problem with Zone 1 and Zone 2 applicability, though that's also a special topic and not really on the broad, the big share of applications. This is not that relevant. What is really the challenge is the implementation and the design. So the problems with really the software and the screen design. We have, for example, a problem, what if you zoom in into a specific, you may lose a certain button that was on the top right corner, but that is probably relevant. This is a design problem. And also, and this is the classical hen-egg problem, it's very hard to get a use case without a use case. So the first customer and the first customer that's willing to speak about that, that's a big challenge. If you have that, then you have a use case, and that as soon as you have that, everything gains momentum. The price itself is not a major hurdle, or not seen as a major challenge in the multi-touch adoption. The reason is it is a bigger difference in if you only look into the panel as such, but typically these panels are used in a machine. So if you have the $200 or $300 difference between touch and multi-touch, that doesn't really matter that much if we're talking about a $40,000 machine. So if it is not the hardware that holds back multi-touch adoption, it must be something else. It's maybe the software and the service offering. And we have, in the multi-touch survey, we had two questions. The one was, do you, the supplier, offer support? And surprisingly, 40% said no, not any. If you look at, is multi-touch integrated into the engineering and configuration tool? Again, 40% say no, right now it's not implemented. And this is a problem. Even big OEMs typically don't afford overcapacity in engineering. They don't have the engineering resources. The engineering time for the OEM and for the user is very scarce. So giving them just a new opportunity with multi-touch won't trigger adoption at all. They need the support. They need to learn the tools. They need everything. So make it as simply as possible for the OEM to get used to the new technology and leverage the full potential. This is really what we at ARC see at the critical next step. Multi-touch in praxis. So how is multi-touch used today? So we asked for two different things, and one is on gestures and one is on action. Sometimes the naming here is identical, but it's a very good example is for the difference is the open. If you want to open a certain document, if you open or a certain application, or then you have the action would be open, but the actual gesture would be a tap or a double tap. To be honest, this on the gestures itself, there is no big difference. It's on the zoom and scroll that this is the number top really shows us it's really in early adoption. It's not much innovation has went into that. It's still the standard zoom and scroll, so it's still enlarging a screen, move from A to B. This is really a way to offer value, to be honest, because it does make navigation, especially on small screens, easier, but it's not leveraging the full potential of multi-touch. If you look on the gestures, or the actions, sorry, this is where we think, this is where the thinking should go. Think in actions, don't think in terms of gestures. If you want to go from A to B, how you get there. This is the gesture itself answers how you get from A to B, but the real challenge right now is to develop with the OEM, with the users, a plan which actions actually make sense on the platform. A special subject in this regard are drawing actions. This means that an operator draws a question mark, an exclamation mark, or swipes just across the screen, or makes maybe even a check if he has completed with a certain step. So is that useful or not? Only a very small minority thinks it's actually useful. The majority thinks it's not useful at all. To be honest, we think that it has some potential, but it's very limited, and the problem is the lack of standardization on gestures. So if you want to introduce a new gesture, it's basically, or you don't want to introduce one, but two or three. This needs really training for all of the operators. The alphabet as being standardization on language, basically, everyone knows it, everyone is familiar, so that's very easy to go along with. If you have very complicated gestures, this again increases training time, it makes things more complicated, and this is something again where actually multi-touch loses then a little bit of its value again, because it is able to make things easier. We see a special application possible. That's more a scenario than something that we have already seen in practice. If you have a big high-end screen, 7 inches or 17 inches or so, and you want to, in a flexible production environment, you really need to teach or jog the robot again, then it could be possible to basically draw the path of the robot on the multi-touch panel if the panel is able to view the environment of the machine. So we see more robots being integrated into modular parts of machinery. There we go into the whole area of Industry 4.0 and Industrial Internet of Things. But here we see something that's actually could be very valuable to have this multi-touch capability of drawing, like drawing something into the machine in this case. So next question, if you have a case study, in which industry was multi-touch applied? Now, before we dig in any further into that, and this is something that any number-centric person may already has discovered, you have clear steps here. Overall, only 30%, so not many people have actually answered that, even though the survey participant completed the questionnaire and completed the survey, not many use cases were formed and reported. Biggest industry was building automation, where obviously the scroll and zoom applications are very popular. What I think is really the key finding here is the lack of any sort of multi-touch applications in mining, metals, cement and glass, oil and gas, as well as pulp and paper. So when the environment gets really rough and you have really this harsh environment, then we don't see any applications right now in the field. Chemicals, we don't know any further, but this could also be fine chemicals where you need manual interference. So right now the applications of multi-touch do focus on the discrete and the hybrid industry. When we look into why it was actually applied, what was the reason and the benefits of using multi-touch, you come back to the fun factor. Most of the applications are used because people just want to have it. It's like a child in a toy store. Everyone is familiar to that. It shows value. This is the reason why it was really applied in most of the cases. As the technology matures and more people are applying multi-touch, this also means that the OEMs that apply this here to show the value of their machinery, they lose this differentiation criteria. So this means right now an OEM can put a big multi-touch panel in front of the machine that shows value. If everyone can do that because prices drop so rapidly, well, it's a standard. It's nothing to show value. So after step by step, we see these criteria here more and more importance in the market for the OEMs and for the operators. And here you also see the really hard criteria that really get value to the OEM it uses. So more information on the small screen. This is important here. Lower training time and cost through intuitive operations. If the batch size continue to decrease, this is what really brings value to multi-touch. You can add functionality by multi-touch quite easily, and you can replace the old function keys and replace the industrial keyboards and mouse, especially the latter. Those are error prone and really expensive. Coming to the next slide. What we had so far, those were open questions. So just to rank these a little bit more and get a better feeling on that, we also had a closed question on the multi-touch and the reasons to adopt multi-touch. So we have again here the fun factor and the OEM demonstrating machine value on the very top as the major reasons to adopt. What we were really surprised right now, because we also would consider this to be a key driver for multi-touch, and it wasn't even mentioned in the question, was the support of diagnostic and maintenance functions. This is something where we at ARC actually see a big value on multi-touch, especially multi-touch panels, multi-touch tablets also, so very small devices. This is where we see value, but right now it doesn't seem to be a reason to adopt it. So everyone is still thinking in terms of the traditional technologies. If you would really go one or two steps further, we would really see that as a type of support maintenance in combination with a camera, in combination with RFID to identify the right components, etc. But that right now doesn't seem to be a driver for the technology overall. Again, here are the flexibility, small information, small screen, lower training time, and again the cost function. So that was the close question on that. Before we come to the Q&A, yes, we have already reached the end of this. I just want to quickly summarize. So we do see enormous potential for multi-touch in the market. It's even a must-have in many areas, but it's a little bit the situation that people don't actually know what to do and how to fully leverage it. That won't hold back the adoption of multi-touch. And also it will be a growth driver for the companies that do have very good multi-touch solutions. It will hinder the growth of companies that have a less sophisticated multi-touch solutions, because these panels will step by step outgrow the function keys, the normal standard touch panels, and also will replace the keyboards and the mouses that we have in the industrial environment.